Good morning, everybody. It is 8:44. I'm excited. We got Dr. Aaron Chapa here in the studio, and I opened up my iPad, right? I got an iPad right here. It's pretty convenient, especially when you're streaming on social media, and we're on Facebook today, like every day. But I noticed that there was an advertisement for a local taco place. It's not local. It's actually a chain, but they have them here, and they're using something called Beyond Meat. And if you've seen something called Beyond Meat, I guess let me know in the comments because it looks delicious. And I'm a big fan of tacos, obviously. Dr. Chapa, you know this. Like, there's a taco thing going on. Yeah. So we're looking at this, and so we pulled up the BeyondMeat.com website. So they make something called a Beyond Burger. It's plant-based patties, and this seems like it's a better option than, I guess, if someone's trying to live like a plant-based lifestyle. You know, what are your thoughts? Have you pulled up any information about it?
So it's interesting that you bring it up and it popped in your box this morning. By the way, this is Dr. Aaron Chapa. Great to have everybody. But here's what I noticed. Yesterday, I'm on maybe it was Friday morning, I was on the treadmill at the gym, and I see this. I don't actually watch the TVs, but they have the little like sub captions running. And so, you know, I've got a lot of things that I'm doing while on a treadmill. I'm not, or a elliptical machine or a stair stepper thing. I'm not just idly doing stuff. So for me to catch it, I just caught it. And what it was they were manufacturing like some sort of specialty meat. And I meant to look into it, but they're manufacturing meat in labs that are supposed to taste like beef. And it's kind of like, wow. So here we go again. We're trying to create, an alternative to food and manufacture stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, this isn't probably good, because it's not something that grows out of the ground, walked at some point in time, or flew in the air or swam in the sea. And that's what gets us in trouble a lot of times. So I'm always cautious.
It looks good, though, because it says 20 grams of plant protein. So they're manufacturing, it's plants. That's good, right? No GMOs. GMOs are bad. No soy or gluten.
Which means genetically modified organism, just if you want to know, which means that they have chemically altered the seed. That's what GMO is, chemically altering the seed from what it was.
So it says they didn't do that.
Correct.
So that's a good thing. And then it says no soy or gluten, which some people have gluten intolerances. And, we don't generally, I don't like soy that much either. And a lot of people, it doesn't work for them. And then it's kosher.
Yeah. So
and it looks delicious.
I mean, and then they even throw in the magic words. It's got coconut oil and MCT oil in it and stuff like that, which is so good for the brain. But if you dig a little deeper, what you see is they also have in the parentheses, expeller pressed canola oil. And when you have expeller pressed canola oil along with these other healthy fats, what winds up happening is they tend to put more of the canola oil, less of the good, quality fat. And then a lot of times they buy, the type of oil that's in season or that they can get abundance of. So it could be like 95% canola oil, which is con oil, not healthy, mixed with 5%, good oil, and they can still market it as such. And that's a little bit misleading and can still create some challenge for the liver.
Good morning. This is KHEA Radio. It's 8:40 a.m. We got Dr. Aaron Chapa here in studio. We were touching a little bit on this Beyond Meat. It's a meat substitute. And Dr. Chapa, can you introduce yourself? Let everybody know, what you do, and then maybe let everybody on our FM audience kind of know what we were talking about behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center teaming up with KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. We're so glad that you're tuning in. This is Dr. Aaron Chapa, and Gardy and I are just in here chatting. He got just how you open up your box in the morning and you see the first thing that pops up, and being the taco lover that Gardy is.
I think it's since you were here too.
I mean, yeah,
it's like it's Tuesday. I'm going to bring up something plant based.
Yeah, and tacos. I mean, they gotta like
Taco Tuesday.
That's what's going to attract your mind. Your mind's going to smell tacos, see tacos. You go, huh? I'm in.
Let's go.
It's got this. And so basically the conversation at hand is, is this manufactured meat? Is it a meat substitute? Is it healthy? Is it something that we can depend on for a food substrate? Because the marketing sounds great. It's like 20 grams of protein or something like that.
Yeah, 20 grams of protein. It says it uses peas, mung bean, and rice to provide complete protein. There's also beets in there. That's how they make it bread. And it says, why does it bleed while blah, blah, blah. And it uses the beets to kind of let that simulate that.
And so, I would say because it's gluten-free, because it's soy-free, and it sounded like if it said GMO free, these are all good things. And then as we dig deeper, we've got to find out, what kind of oils are they using? Because we always got to go back to the 4 deadly food additives. And guys, so at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery. We're teaching people how to live better, be better, stay better, one bite at a time. And every food choice you make is moving you in a direction of good health, or unfortunately, it's going to put you on the slippery slope towards not so good health. And so if you have symptom patterns that you were not genetically born with, stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about all kinds of matters around health. Today, our topic at hand is ADD, ADHD, and we want to know, how we can help our youth move forward as they're getting into the school season. And does food play a part in that? And does manufactured, I don't want to say fake meat, but meat look alike, because it's obviously not meat. It's a plant-based source. And the first thing that popped in my head is it's got to be soy-based.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we concluded that it is not soy-based. And I think, that's a plus. And so we've got to dig deeper and find out, okay, so what else are they putting in it? Does it meet the other criterion? Does it have MSG? Because, monosodium glutamate is a known neurotoxin, neuro meaning nervous system, toxin meaning poison. And so it's going to contaminate and mess with the brain chemistry, your neurotransmitters in your digestive tract, your gut microbiome. And all of a sudden, it can be something that tastes really savory for about 30 seconds, and then it gives you about 3 months worth of heartache. Nobody wants that. And that's what we have to appreciate, the 4 deadly food additives. And that's just one. Does it have partially hydrogenated oil in it? Partially hydrogenated oil is a type of oil that is mostly used in today's chain-based sit-down type places. And when we go into these, and it's at your house as well probably, and if it's got partially hydrogenated oil, a lot of these margarines and fake butters, I can't believe it's not real butter stuff, is one chemical reaction away from plastic, and it will clog up your liver. It will make your body not perform. Is that the?
This is all of me. I
mean, that looks amazing.
It looks great, Dr. Chapa. You're talking, and meanwhile, I'm like planning my dinner, going to the store to try and find this stuff, and I know. Oh man, here's the tacos. It almost looks better than real meat.
So now, so let's just finish this 4 deadly food additives conversation, because these are things you've got to be looking for. Because to your point, the pictures are designed to do what?
To make me want to lick the screen.
Yes, absolutely. And so marketing is set up so that we are going to plan our dinner based on that conversation,
right?
And to get us talking about it. Right? But we've got to dig deeper. Don't just take it at face value. And that's my encouragement to everybody. Never take it at face value. Find out what kind of oil are they using? What kind of spices are they using? What does it have artificial ingredients or sugars in it? If it's got artificial sugars in it, they can't be good. In this case, it won't, because it doesn't have to taste sweet. It's supposed to taste like tacos or a piece of hamburger, right?
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the movie Good Burger. Do you remember how they were pumping it in there and they look good? Everybody wanted to go and get it, but it wasn't real.
Full of junk, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you eat make-believe food, what do you get?
Make-believe health.
That's right. So we've got to make sure. And so in this case, it surely wouldn't have the 4th deadly food additive, high fructose corn syrup, but it might have other corn derivatives. Mm-hmm. And and even though corn is in some respects on the Clean 15, according to the EWG, Environmental Working Group, website for clean eating foods, it's because it is genetically engineered, and but I don't see corn in it either. So it could have good things. But you've got to do your homework. Never take it at face value. But I'll tell you, beans we know might be problematic for people. There's a high dose of concentrated lectins in it. The beans might not set well on people's systems. So it depends on if you do well with rice protein, or if you do well with bean protein or pea protein, because there still could be other factors. But for those that are wanting that savory burger taste, I mean, we'll have to dig deeper because maybe it could be a solution for some people because we use rice and pea proteins for complete protein sources in in some of our shakes at the office. And no, they're not perfect, but they are 95% of the amino acid profile of mother's milk, and they give people better alternatives than the majority of shake mixtures that they're buying.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to help you make the good, better, best choices when it comes to your food dollar because what your kids are eating is important. What you're eating every day is important because right now we know the average American is consuming 11 to 15 meals over and over again, and they don't really deviate from it. Why do we think? Why do we call taco
Tuesday?
That's right. That means on Tuesdays we're going to do what?
Eat some tacos.
That's right. So that's one of your 11 meals that you're repeating over and over again. And some people it's fast food. Some people it's boxed cereals. Some people it's the sugary little tarts. It's it's the donuts. It's the pastries. It's the cookies. It's the candies. It's the Skittles. It's the Snickers. It's the routines that we get into that start to plague us and move us down the slope towards symptom land. Nobody wants to go to symptom land. Symptom land means you're on the fast track to diagnosis land. Diagnosis land means that your body never addressed the symptoms appropriately or properly, and then you start developing disease names. And in the beginning, disease is hard to recognize, but easy to fix. So that means you've got to learn to be astute. You got to be a private eye detective. You got to look and evaluate. Do you have a rash? Do you have an earache? Do you have, floaters in your eyes? Do you get a tickle in your throat? Do you have a cough that you can't get rid of? Are you constantly dealing with like allergies, sniffles, or do you have aches and pains in your body that haven't been, so to speak, diagnosed yet? Because what happens is if these symptoms are not addressed, they start to accumulate because they are a sign that something is breaking down in your body. And then what happens is that leads to you going and investigating with a doctor, and then you get a diagnosis like fibromyalgia, which is a syndrome. It's a combination of a bunch of different issues going on in the body. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing younger and younger people start to develop, mental challenges where they have neural development issues. They're not progressing in their number skills, their letter skills, their grammar skills, their reading skills. I mean, I think right now the average person isn't reading at their appropriate grade level. They're a good 3 to 4 grade levels below their reading capabilities. And I think it has to do a lot with, one, we're inundated with so much information. It's like, okay, what do we read? And two, it's easier to play a video game or to watch TV and be entertained than to engage the eyes. 80% of your nervous system is in your sensory nervous system. That means your eyes, your ears, your nose, your smell, your taste, and your feelers. And 20% is actually movement. So if we can teach people, and you'll see this as the elderly are aging, they move their head a lot to see. They don't use their eyes to see. So you're supposed to, move your eyes around the room, not moving your head to see.
Is that easier because your joints than to move your body?
Yeah, well, what happens is it's a sign of neurological decline when the eyes aren't engaging. So you should be able to have a focal point. I should be able to look you in the left eye and hold that pretty steady while we're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm in a room, I should be able to use my eyes and my body motions to, make and interact with my crowd. But when we're finding ourselves always needing our body to mobilize us and not our visual acuity, cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6, the things of the eyes, then we know that the nervous system is starting to decline because there's a lot of power in the sensory aspects of our nervous system. It's 80% sensory, 20% motor, meaning things that we actually move is not as powerful as what we sense. And so we got to learn how to tap into that. Nobody's talking about it. We're always worried about, no pain, no gain, killing it in the gym, getting our heart rate up and all these other things. But sometimes we need to go back to some of these fundamental things and start doing neural development exercises where we're stimulating cranial nerve 8, the vestibular system. We're stimulating the vagus nerve. We're stimulating cranials 3, 4, and 6 through eye motion and exercise. I mean, not just like physical exercise, but visual exercises. And it's amazing what this begins to do for a person's brain. Mm-hmm. And and I was just looking at a study, when it comes to ADD. So like what is ADD? Attention deficit disorder. And there's all kinds of disorders, that have to do with resistance, rebelliousness, people having all kinds of mental acuity challenges where they have brain fog. I mean, even adults have ADD. I mean, there's a song that says, "Blame it on my ADD." You know what I mean?
I haven't heard that one. Is it new?
No, it's been around for a
Okay.
while, and it's one of these things that it's almost like we take pride in having ADD when we start writing songs about it in the media. But people are walking around and they don't have the mental capacity to get through their day, and then they are needing rocket fuel to get through their day, such as what? Sugar,
Energy drinks.
Coffees, teas, things that are caffeine based, or some sort of sugar. I mean, people are looking for stuff to try to turn their brain on, and these kids today are literally overstimulated with fixed overactivity of video gaming and TV watching. We don't do near enough reading. We don't even do enough conversating. I hate to say, we're good at texting, but so much is lost in the art of communication skills and and good interaction face to face. But this attention deficit problem isn't just in our youth, although we kind of targeted towards the youth because nobody wants to see the kids suffering in school, right?
Right.
It's sad for me to watch kids, but then I don't want to pick on churches. I love church. I go to church every Sunday, any chance I get. I want my kids involved in church. But I mean, it drives me bananas. Like we
I already know what you're going to say.
I have to say it again because I'm hoping maybe somebody will hear me.
There's a children's pastor out there, somebody who works in children's ministry, like
that might
Crystal.
bring apples or something instead of donuts. I know that's a fruit sugar, but my gosh, man, I mean, let's look at the quality. God's food or make-believe food? Which one do we want more of? God's food.
Right.
But yet we literally, my mom came to church with me on Sunday, and she goes, "Does everybody bring donuts when they come to this church?"
Yes.
And I mean, everybody's carrying a box of donuts with them. And I'm like, "Where's your Bible?" I don't know, but I got my donuts. And okay. And this is just that. This is the culture we live in. And so this isn't to slight anybody or be mean or anything like that. This is to be you got to get educated. You got to start being aware that sugary foods, pastries, donuts, sugary drinks, these are not the way of the future. These are the ways of disease. They feed disease in the body. They accelerate the aging processes. And in our youth, the brain is developing so rapidly, we need to fill them up on minerals and essential fatty acids. We need to get their vitamin stores where they need to be. And we need to give them the tools and resources for their brains to fire on all 8 cylinders because it's the best, most amazing, most awesome computer ever developed. And it is and can be cultivated. I told my daughter, I said, work hard today and cultivate your mind. Cultivate your mind. That means, and she goes, "I will, Daddy." And you have fun serving patients. And I said, "I will, honey." And so we got to teach our kids that God gave you a brain. He expects you to use it, and he expects you to know the difference between real food and make believe food. And can you have some of the make believe food? Of course you can. But should it be a staple? Right? Is the old saying go, an apple a day or keeps the doctor away, or a Hershey bar a day keeps the doctor away?
It's an apple.
Yeah,
Definitely an apple.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: if you eat an apple a day, will you be healthy immediately once you start eating an apple a day if you've never adopted that principle?
Yeah, I don't think so. And then you got to eliminate the other stuff. I would say like a replacement, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're putting in more make-believe food than you are real food, you're always going into what we call a food debt, a food deficit, a nutritional debt. So if you're going into financial debt every day, everybody knows that's no fun. Mm-hmm. At 18% interest, that'll catch up on you quick, right? And that will put a hurting on any financial person. And every night that you go to sleep, Dave Ramsey says, you wake up the next morning more broke, that's the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. And those that are hearing my voice that are children of God, you know what God hates debt. Those are the things that he despises. And so we are supposed to be lenders and not borrowers. And so we got to remember that some of these spiritual principles as well here is that we want to look different to the world. And I think, and this is one area where nutritional debt, the principle of nutritional debt in the body leads to disease. And so, bankruptcy in finances, cancer in health, right? Or what the new word is that's even before cancer that I think is more of an issue, autoimmunity. Okay? But it starts with recognizing the symptoms. If you find that you can't remember names, numbers, and words very well, there are apps that you can download to help, engage your mind in the memory process. You can engage in a good topical memory scripture program. There's a lot of, I think they call them awanas at churches, but these scripture memory programs that engage the mind in retaining information. People go, well, I can just look it up in the Bible. Yeah, you can. But, man, if you can put it in you, no one can ever take it away from you. And the mind wants information. I remember as a kid, people would say, you can only use 10% of your brain. And I go, why would God give me a brain that I can only use 10%? That just doesn't sound right. You ever thought about that?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, do you want 10% of your brain or do you want 100% of your brain?
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I feel like I'd be, too dangerous, too much, right? But, I'd rather use more than less.
That's absolutely.
Sure.
And so I want to cultivate 100% power in my thinking. I want to think different. I want to act different. I want to, be able to use the thinker that God has given me. And that comes through good counsel. That comes through good associations. That comes through good food. That comes through good books. We are a product of the people we run with, the books we read, and the CDs that we listen to, or the music we listen to, or the media we put in our heads. That's why we got to be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. And so we've got to make sure that if you're putting in a lot of video games, that you're also putting in more reading. So you're always in positive of stimulating the mind in a healthy way. And then we start looking at, okay, well, if I've been diagnosed with ADD or attention deficit, or I find that I'm fidgety and I can't focus in school and I can't keep a train of thought going forward, where am I going to start? Well, 80% is in the sensory nervous system. So what are you doing to stimulate your brain? So remember, the brain wants to be awesome. That's one area that Living Well focuses on, teaching people how to make these lifestyle changes. And then we start focusing 80% of our efforts in our diet. And we start a lot with diet and what we call elimination diets, because elimination diets goes to what I've always taught you guys, that what you eat's important. But what you
don't eat is more important.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it's more important and is what you don't eat, because of what you said earlier. If you eat a Hershey bar a day and you're just putting in one little good nutrient, and it's only like half of the value of the bad that you put in, you're going into debt. We've got to get you to where you're going into nutritional density, where you have reserve. You have resources. So we use products in the office like Greens 8000, and what it is it's 21 servings of fruits and vegetables packed in a powder. And those fruits and vegetables give kids a chocolate flavor, a mocha flavor, a berry flavor, a minty flavor, a punch flavor, so that they like it, right, number one, and they don't realize that, hey, this is good for me. I mean, this tastes good. It's 21 servings of fruits and vegetables, and it can easily be taken to school, put in a water bottle, and you can shaky, drinky, and you get the phytonutrients from 21 servings of fruits and vegetables.
Can your body use that many servings, like at one time?
Yes, because of their variety. And I believe that with the deficit that the body has, and remember, when we put these in, they're already in their usable form. I mean, and so this is
broken down.
It's not that we're having to do a bunch of digestion here. So because a lot of patients that come in, and this is what we start researching in the literature about ADD, ADHD, is they're finding more and more a gut-brain connection. If the gut is broken, if it's damaged, if it is inflamed, irritated, and because of gluten intolerances or food allergies, dairy issues, soy issues, corn problems, peanut allergens. I mean, all these different things, they're They affect the digestive lining. They change the biochemistry of the gut. The microorganisms down there the wrong bugs get fed, and therefore they use up all of our good nutrition for healthy brain function. And I've seen kids go from wiry and all over the place, not being able to stay focused, to changing their diet, and the parents come back and say, wow, that it does make a difference. And it's their blood sugar. When their blood sugar's up and down like a roller coaster, so is their mind. And they can't think straight. They can't stay focused. They can't stay attentive to the process at hand. If they've got, chemical injuries, from the different environmental toxins that we're exposed to, we've got programs that we can detox the brain, because the body stores toxins in the brain. And toxins are just things that your body cannot use. So, there's a concept of hormesis where, some things that we're exposed to in life can challenge our immune system. They can challenge our body to be better at detoxing, to be better at neural development instead of neural degeneration, or immunological upregulation versus immunological, crashing, where we're blowing out the system. And so if we can do more things that are hormetic and less things that are toxic. So hormetic would be, getting on something physical, getting on a treadmill for 30 minutes or pumping weights. It's a pain to the body, and the body develops from it, right? Mm-hmm. If it's going without sugar challenges the body, because it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. And so if we can get you to start, reaching for healthier options in your diet, in your choices of living, all of a sudden you're going to get healthier amounts of blood to your brain and to your extremities. You're going to get more healthy blood flow to your digestive tract for healing and repair. You're going to start seeing those little microvascular tissues in your eyes and in your teeth start to develop, and we see maybe less people with glasses, or we see less people with teeth issues. And maybe we'll get back in a couple generations, because unfortunately it will probably take a couple of generations, according to Felix Lau and Francis Pottinger, on the idea of the biochemistry has gotten weaker over the last 3 decades of a high sugar, high carb diet promo from our food pyramiding, and so we've got to get back to the roots. Water is a foundation. Good healthy proteins is a foundation. Good healthy fats is a foundation. Fat is not going to make you fat. Fat drives healthy hormones, which drives healthy metabolism, which drives healthy brain function. Mm-hmm. And they've done studies after study on fish oils in kids. If your kids are struggling in school, I use a high-dose EPA and DHA product. You've got the cod liver oil over there. I brought some cod liver oil this morning. The cod liver oil,
already took mine.
And tuna omega oil that we use is got high doses of EPA, which is a type of omega-3 and omega-9 fat that help drive brain activity and increase blood flow in the brain. And the more blood flow you give your kids going out the door, they're not going to be, you're thinking more blood flow meaning they're going to be worse behavior. No. See, what the fats do, they're like logs on a fire. They burn hot, they burn long. That means your kid is more stable. He's not looking 20 minutes after he gets to school for the next snack. His mind isn't crashing on him an hour into school and he's got another 2 hours before lunch. He's going to be able to go through the morning. So we can teach our kids how to leverage the technology of the day. Fish oils, because, maybe you're not a fish-eating family. You should be, but maybe you're not yet. Maybe this is a new conversation. Like, fish is good for my brain? It's good for my hormones? Yeah, sure is. Yeah. Well, what about the contaminants and the metals? Well, are you buying farm-raised fish? Are we? Maybe you shouldn't, because if there's a guy spraying stuff into a fishery and he's in a hazmat suit, makes you wonder if you should be really eating that farm-raised creature. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then they say, well, what about the mercury in the fish in the sea? Well, there's 2 types of mercury. There's methyl mercury, man-made, and the ethyl mercury, the type that's on the periodic table of elements. And this is interesting because what we know is that the body should be able to deal with the toxins that that we see in our environment. But sometimes in this day and age, the body just needs more help, which is why I put people on detoxes all the time. And I'm pushing people to always keep your thumb on the liver, to push the liver. That's why I went and did a visceral manipulation class to learn how to manipulate the liver and to do a liver lift and to make sure that I can stretch those cystic ducts and wring out, if you will, the gallbladder and make things move better. People go, you can do that? Of course you can do that. And so these are just concepts that I keep going and studying and getting deeper into and finding that there's more to wellness than we've been taught. That we're all looking for the magic bullet, right? I want to just take this one vitamin a day to be healthy. Well, if you're eating 3 and 5 times a day, why wouldn't you be supplementing 3 and 5 times a day, especially in today's world? And some people go, oh, you don't need vitamins, you don't need minerals, you don't need all that. Well, you're missing the boat, pal. All I can tell you is you're miseducated. And, because what I've seen in 14 years of clinical practice and what I've seen in sitting through hundreds and thousands of hours of study and conversation with doctors across the country who do clinical nutrition work that are in the trenches, it all comes down to food. If we can get people to balance their blood sugar, we can balance their brain chemistry. If we can help heal the gut lining, I just pulled a study up out of the Lancet that was talking about the gut microbiome being the key to having a healthy brain chemistry. So we need to get our kids' gut lining to be healthier and stronger. We can do that through probiotics. We can do that through essential fatty acids, cod liver oil tuna. We can do that through vitamin A, vitamin C, in the whole food form if we can get it. And we got to know how to drive the tissues forward. And this is what my office is in place for, is to give people this type of education so that they know how to recognize that they're having a symptom in their body. And then we can turn around and we can do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Right now it's 9:16. This is KHEA.com, 99.5 FM. We're talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa. The topic for today is ADD, ADHD in adults and children. I see this comment that was on our Facebook stream. If you have a comment or a question about anything that we're discussing, feel free to ask. They mentioned TV commercials, marketed for kids. So we're talking about toys, and I remember watching them whenever I was a kid. Now, here's the difference from whenever I was a kid and, my son now, who's 6 years old. If there's something he wants to listen to, if there's something he wants to watch or see, he knows for a fact he can ask me. And if I tell him no, it's because I just said no, and I have to make up a reason. Like, I don't want to listen to the Disney, this Disney movie soundtrack right now. But he knows I have everything right here. And so I'm wondering if technology, these short commercials, the fact that the kids can literally listen to or see anything in the entire world that they want to, and if their parent asks or they have, access to a device that they can do it. Does any of that, go to that ADHD,
Absolutely.
cause and effect?
It does. Number one, we're not getting the kids to be active enough. Kids need a lot of neural development. One of the missionary programs that I support and watch is Generation One, and there's a guy named Mike Malenkas that does. He goes in and he teaches challenged youth, if you will, in the inner city that don't really have good education programs, and it's in kind of the more not so healthy areas of town, and he goes in there and he sets up schools to educate children. And one of the things that is most important that they have found is tactile learning, keeping kids active with their hands, playing on those little musical walls, so to speak, or playing with blocks and playing with letters and using their hands to do things. I mean, I was talking to a teacher yesterday that, she's got pre-K age kids that can't draw inside a circle, and obviously, they're behind on their tactile learning. And it's because we get in front of these screens and we just push a button and we just sit there. Kids need a lot of neurological stimulation. And the more stimulation that they can get, the mind is a sponge for them. And so we don't want to just fill them up with something that is just, inputting into their head via the eyes through stagnant movement. We want them bouncing around outside. where their body's equilibrium was dealing with the ups and the downs, the sides of the sides. I mean, I love watching my kids on trampoline because there's core stability being developed. There's neurological development happening. There's coordination. There's focus and concentration, being able to do some of the things that my kids are doing and teaching them. Find the ground with your eyes, and your feet will get there. Or watching them on a little those ripsticks, doing these things. The activity creates change in coordination that the brain wants, needs, and desires. And when we sit in front of a TV or we sit in front of a screen, we're not allowing that development to happen. They just zone off. The mind becomes idle. And we know that the idleness is the devil's playground, right? I mean, we've got to be intentional with everything that we do. So I was telling a mom yesterday, she's got a really brilliant little kid, and he's just cool. And I was telling her, don't just point out the butterfly. Point out the different species of butterfly. Don't point out just that's a dog. No, that's a husky. That's a Doberman. That's a Rottweiler. That's a Bulldog. That's a Pit Bull. That's a
guard dog.
Whatever. Yeah, all the different varieties, right? And we start teaching kids. It's not just a cat. That's a Himalayan cat. That's a tabby cat. That's a black cat. That's a stray cat, a feral cat. And you're downloading vocabulary into their head, and so we've got to get these youth back out in the yard counting rocks and tinkering with building things out of nothing and being real with the world again. And we're all guilty of it. It's easy to sit in front of our TVs. It's easy to sit back and watch movies, and it's easy to play video games on our phones, especially as adults. But the more we recognize that we're doing those things, and we start getting and becoming more intentional with the fact that we've got a brain that wants to be awesome, we start going, you know what? Is this going to be stimulation for the brain, or is this going to be something that is just kind of, like choosing to eat junk food or make-believe food? Because the type of stimulation we put in the body, like the type of fuel that we put in the body, matters. And so we want to make sure that we're getting good, healthy stimulation and good, healthy fuel so that the brain can do what it's supposed to. The nervous system can develop, and then it's less likely to have, growing issues. A lot of kids, they have growing pains, and we just have accepted that, oh, sorry, little Johnny, that you got those pains. There's nothing I can do for you except you just got to grin and bear it. Here's some Tylenol. No, that's the worst advice ever. You give little Johnny some coral from my office, Coral Legend or calcium lactate. It's got calcium and magnesium, and it helps little Johnny develop. I mean, if you think about what a growing pain is, the bone is elongating. The bone is becoming thicker. That's a type of surgery that's happened. There's osteoblastic and osteoclastic activity happening in the body. That's tearing down and remodeling all day, every day in our youth. And if your kid's got growing pains, if you're a tall father or a tall mother, or if you're expecting your kids to be tall, those bones, when they start elongating and they got pain, you don't go, sorry, here's some Tylenol. You go, all right, I'm calling Living Well. What did they say about growing pains? How do I fix that? I'll tell you, it could be simple as cod liver oil and a good dose of calcium lactate, minerals, and magnesium. And it's like instant within.
That's what I'm on, right?
Days. You got both of those coming into your body right now for sure, because you're on a multi-mineral.
Oh.
And yeah, of course you're growing.
I can still grow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're still young, dude. Young and vital. And so but it should be easy. And a lot of times, we don't realize that if my mind, if people hit the like button, share something like that, if you ever sit in front of somebody and you lose your train of thought,
It's happened.
or if you start, your mind starts wandering to, what am I going to be doing on Friday, or what am I going to be doing tonight, and it's 10:30 in the morning, right?
Right.
When your brain wanders, let that be the trigger that lights you up and go, whoa, what are you doing up there, brain? I need you back focused. Intentionality matters. And so what I do is I stop and I take a dose of cod liver oil. I grab me some, Total Brain. Oh, wrong one. This is Total Limp. But there it is, Total Brain. And I get this stuff in my body, and I'm putting nutrients in, like rosemary, ribonucleic acid, dung quai, reishi mushroom, ginkgo biloba. This thing is loaded.
And what is that one?
This is called Total Brain. It's just an awesome little brain fuel product that stimulates blood flow, stimulates neurological activation in the brain. And those that can't swallow pills, you can have some if you want. You can take 2 of them; they're awesome.
Take 2.
And I took 2 before the show
Should I
started.
chew, or sometimes you trick me?
No, this one's a swallow for sure because they taste pretty ugly. Because there's so many different herbs in there, so it doesn't
Some brain
taste
pills.
Great. But always if you do chew them, they do activate faster, and they go through the mucosa of your mouth and cheeks and your sublingual glands, and they'll get to the brain faster. The body, the minute it senses the nutrition is there, it will start to activate, and within 15 minutes, you'll feel sharper. You'll feel more acute and more aware and more alive. And I find all the time that if my mind wanders, I've taught myself that's a trigger. Hey, why are you thinking about that? You get back to what the task at hand, which is serving a patient, or taking care of one of my kiddos, or having a conversation with a loved one, or getting into a good book, or staying focused in my studies, whatever the case may be. So anytime I sit down to write or to read or to think, I take brain support to give my body an edge, because I want blood flow to my head. I want the nuclei in my cells in my brain to be active and vibrant. I want those synapses between in my neurological aspects to be so sharp and firing healthily that when I think, I can think, and when I want to remember, I can recall, and I can have supernatural recall. I can have supernatural thinking power, and have the power that God's given me in using my mind and using it effectively. And so if you can't swallow pills, don't worry. I've got liquid stuff that can help you, and homeopathics, that don't taste. And there's always ways to activate the body. The body's frequency, it's light, and we've just got to learn how to stimulate it. And we can stimulate it through eye exercises. We can stimulate it through music. We can stimulate it through senses. We can stimulate it through taste. We can stimulate it through herbs. Guys, there's so many venues to tap into your potential.
Can you stimulate it using technology? Can you stimulate it using?
Yeah, of course. There are plenty. I mean, just think of like a crossword puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. And they download crossword puzzles and Sudoku and all these things. There's things that do memory drills. Like I just took a memory test on a cognition test in my office the other day. It was like a little 10-minute test, and I mean it's forcing me to recall. It shows me like a pattern of words, right? And then it shows me 5 or 6, or maybe it's 10, I can't remember, different categories with 3-word categories, and I have to recognize one of the 25 words that I saw. And then one of the other drills is number drills. Can you remember 3 numbers in sequence in order? Can you remember 5 in order? Can you remember 8 in order? My wife a while back, she was at a gas station, and somebody robbed her at the gas station, and they stole her purse. They opened the passenger door and ripped the purse out. Oh no, yeah, it was scary. My kids were in the car. It was terrifying, and it was one of those moments. Like, guys, be vigilant. I mean, don't keep your head down like in the sand like an ostrich and assume that it'll never happen to you, because it can happen. But some of these wake-up calls. But you know what was cool? It was cool because my kids recognized it. They saw it. They identified the car. My wife saw the plates. My wife having the ability to recall, 8 numbers very easily. She's like has a really wicked, awesome, memory when it comes to that. And she was able to give. She read it 4 times out loud, because she saw it, and then the guy speeds off, and then she had it and she had it 3, 4, 5 minutes later. And being able to do that, it's not an easy thing to do. But we all have, giftings in that. So there's technology programs that are designed to stimulate the brain. There's reading programs that I've used online for speed reading and learning how to process information faster, because the reason people get sleepy whenever they are reading, which is a form of attention deficit, is it not? Because when you read, you're supposed to be intentionally engaged, but you read so slow, the mind gets tired.
Shut down.
Right?
For me, it depends on what the topic is. If it's something that I'm really interested in, And then a lot of times, like school, I think of, college or high school. It's something like Wuthering Heights, and a book like that. I'm like, this is not for me. It's not my cup of tea, but you still have to do it. And that was tough.
Right. But what if it's a boring matter? That could be a possibility. And so we've got to definitely use, I would say, herbs to kind of keep you alert so you can go through it. And this might be an area too where you really tap into, like, I use this brain tonic at my office. It's a liquid herbal that's got different brain activating herbs in it that will turn your mind on in a heartbeat, and or I got to thinking about it, for those of you that drink coffee, you already know the power of caffeine. Well, what if you used like 5 ml of which is like a little over a teaspoon of coffee, and you took a quick little sip of it and you used it like a therapeutic. So you're like, I hate coffee. Okay, great. Well, what if you used it therapeutically? And because there's books that have talked about it that lengthens the telomeres in your DNA, which is longevity. I think Stephen Gundry, in the longevity diet, he's got the plant paradox and the longevity paradox is what it's called. In the longevity paradox, he talks about lengthening those telomeres with, small micro doses of caffeine. It doesn't take a lot. And so you're sitting down reading something you don't want to really get through, but what if you get your environment right where you can get through Beowulf,
yeah,
or whatever the boring subject matter
Kidsbury
is.
tells, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but what if you also, before you sit down and read the book, you say a prayer? Lord, give me the truth and wisdom I need from this book. Start spiritually, start right there. And then you do your eye drills and you look, you got a rectangle in front of you pretty much, and you go corner to corner, diagonally. You go side to side, you go vertical to vertical, or you make a square with your eyes, or you go both ways, both directions. And it's almost like you're doing a warm-up drill before you read.
You're blowing my mind right now, Dr. Chapa.
Really?
I wish you would have, you like warming up my eyes. I never honestly thought of that. I've prayed before reading stuff like, hey, help me. Or like even like I'm studying for the test the next day. Sometimes it's desperation, like I should have studied, but hey, let me look over this real quick and see if anything sticks. I've done that. But as far as like eyes, like thinking about, hey, I'm going to be reading left to right, I've slapped myself in the face just like trying to wake myself up. But
you're at least activating one of the senses.
Something. Hey, here's another question that has to do with supplements, and I said we were going to get this asked. She said, hey, when you talk about cod liver oil and certain supplements, is it important that we also make sure we get a certain brand name of supplements, something to use? Are some brands, they have like fillers, so maybe they're not as good as the other ones? And I will say this one that Dr. Chapa had given for us to take is Nordic Naturals Arctic Cod Liver Oil, and it has all these stats on it. I take 3 every day, every morning, except on Saturdays because I leave it here.
Here's another one called Premier DHA. And Premier DHA is a plant-based for those that are like, anti-fish or, they're vegetarian or hardcore vegan or whatever,
Yeah.
And so I try to have something a little bit for everybody. And this is a plant-based essential fat. And I will tell you with absolute certainty and absolute confidence, and you can take this for, how you want to take it, because I know everybody's out marketing. Everybody's trying, I'm on the show marketing, if you will, telling people who I am, what I do, and why I do it. And I believe that all life does start and stop at the cellular level, and nutrition is the fundamental backbone. So what you put in your body matters. And if you don't want to believe it, that's cool. This isn't for you. But one day, I pray that you see that you're in more control of your health than you realize. Now, that being said, what I've learned about supplements is 97.5% of the supplement market is either not safe, I'm sorry to say, or not effective. I'm really sorry to say. That means you're potentially wasting your money. I have personally vetted out all the companies that I use in my office. Everything in my office is the 2.5%. And I'm confident about that. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt when I give a person a product that's going to upregulate their immune system so that their body can go deal with an infection better than somebody that doesn't have the technology that I have to offer, it's going to do exactly that. If I have a product in my office that I'm going to tell you is going to help you support heart function or cardiovascular function, it's going to do just that. It's going to feed the heart muscle. It's going to feed the smooth muscle inside the arteries, and making sure that blood can travel down the path more effectively. I learned this one time. I had this lady. She was a patient, and her mom had a stroke. So she calls me and says, "Hey, my mom had a stroke." Well, her mom's not a patient, and she's at the hospital and whatever. What would you do? I'm like, okay, this is what I do. So there's a bunch of neurological things I would do physically, because one of the worst things that a stroke patient can do, this is a little off topic, but is to let them seize up. You keep their nervous system pulled out. You keep doing the exact opposite what it's trying to do. And too often we're not stimulating the nervous system near enough physically whenever a tragedy like that happens. But something else is we can do is we can increase blood flow to the tissues in the microvascular areas. And so one of the things that I did is I said, all right, come buy this phosphorus product called Circuplex, and it's got, and it will increase blood flow. And it sure did. But I didn't take in consideration that this was an elderly. I was a little young in practice. I think I was like 4 or 5 years into practice, and it caused her to bruise immediately, like it blew up like vessels all over. And I was like, oops, I forgot. She's older, and she just had a stroke. So she's already fragile. And you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound good. It sounds like you hurt her. I didn't really hurt her. I just increased blood flow, and her arteries and her capillaries couldn't handle it. No problem. I put her on a rutin-based product, a vitamin C-based product, a whole complex, which is called Cyruta Plus, and it's from a company called, both of these were from Standard Process, and within 3 days it was fixed. And what I had to do is I can't put more cars on a freeway that's already damaged, broken, or congested, right?
It's backed up.
And it's backed up or weak.
Damn.
And so this poor lady had a backup in her system. Duh, she had a stroke. Hello, Chapa. Think. Use your mind. And so I go, no problem. Take her off of that for just a couple days. I want you to put this one in. It'll repair the arteries, and then we can put the other one back, and we'll be fine. And sure enough, it was not even 4 days, and we fixed the problem that had manifested. So as fast as those bruises popped up, they went away. That's how cool it was, right? And we were feeding now the arteries and the capillaries to heal well. And then we put in the Circuplex back in there, and we increased that circulation, and we're able to drive more nutrition through those arteries without them malfunctioning. And so it was like a test and a remedy, and it really taught me something. So now when I'm dealing with stroke people or concussions or elderly, I always do Circuplex and Cyruta Plus just in case they have weak arteries, because I'm who am I? I can't look into your body and see how weak those arteries are, but I sure know that if you had a stroke, you're more prone to having weak arteries. I know if you've got history of heart disease already, or if you've got a lot of heart disease in your family, and I've done a good history, I would know, that we need to support those faculties. And guess what? Your brain wants a lot of blood flow. It wants a lot of nutrition. It wants a lot of healthy fats. I mean, it's predominantly a fat organ. You know what I mean? And that's why the body, unfortunately, when it's toxic, it uses those fat cells in the brain to be storage houses for trash. So think about having a messy desk, or a messy living room, or a messy closet, or a messy anything. You don't think as well. People go, oh, no, I think great in clutter. Well, I assure you, if I gave you a pen on a messy desk and I just randomly put it somewhere, you're going to have a hard time finding it. But if I had a cleaned desk and I put a pen anywhere on the desk, you're more likely to find it faster. And so these are definite, things to consider. You don't want your mind to be cloudy and foggy and cluttery. And if you've got a lot of environmental toxins from chemicals in our environment, metals in our and chemicals in our food, the preservatives that we are eating, the manufactured, and that's what concerns me about even manufactured kosher meat. It makes me nervous. And I'm, so I saw it last week, and because what I saw last week, it didn't sound like this bean product. It sounded more like they were literally manufacturing beef and from stem cells and whatnot. And I'm like, woo, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Because we're not that good in order to be able to get the DNA structures right. We're putting products in the body that are coal tar derivatives. So going back to that supplement question, a lot of the products that you buy, it can have coal tar as one of its where they get the vitamin C from. They can be a portion of the vitamin E, and that creates an inflammatory cascade that can cause heart disease. And so one of the things that I'm very, always telling people, you cannot just go anywhere and buy product. So, we give our patients a discount on our products for being patients at our office, because I don't want you to have to go to, online and try to find a better deal if you can find it. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And, man, I've got patients and I've got testimony that sometimes the stuff bought online, even though it's got the right label, it ain't the product they bought.
Mm-hmm.
At
least you know where you're getting it from.
You've got to know.
Yeah.
You got to know. And so, when you buy from a reputable source, whenever you buy from Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, you're going to get the 2.5% of safe and effective, and it's going to do exactly what it's designed to do. And you might go, well, I took that brain stuff and it didn't work. Okay, well, do you know it didn't work? What were you looking for? Were you looking for, that one of those incredible fake movies where they take this magic little drug and all of a sudden they have like superhuman strength? You know what I mean?
That'd be nice.
That'd be awesome, and I'm looking for that too. But we've got to put adult expectations on things and recognize we are still fallible creatures. We are still, vessels that are degenerating, even though we are amazing vessels that can regenerate. You're 95 years old, you get a cut on your hand. You're 6 years old, you get a cut on your hand, and you still heal. It just might not heal as fast, or it might, depending on your nutritional density, not your nutritional debt, right? So when we're looking at brain activity, we've got to be thinking, just like we warm up in the gym before we go on a football field, before we hit the basketball court, before we swing a golf club, before we do anything, we need to learn how to warm up our mind. So I find literally I can do eye exercises, just straight left to right, up and down, like kind of making a cross, going diagonally, or I can make shapes. Like you've got all these rectangles around you. You got borders all around you. You got a clock on the wall. There's all kinds of little things that you could do for shape in eye drills. You could also take, something written on a label. Like in this case, I'm looking at Arctic cod liver oil. Then I can look over there and I can read that it says 0:00:00. That's what I'm focusing. And I'm doing what's called convergent drills. And so there's so many little things, and people just underestimate, because this little drill that I just didn't make my heart rate at 145, and I didn't bust out into a sweat, and I'm not going to have six-pack abs from it. But I'm going to have longevity in the mind.
You already have all those things.
Yeah, baby. Come on, speak the truth. And 125, fully functional in spirit, mind, and body. Mind and body, spiritually, functionally. I'm going to be alive, at 75. You know that centenarians say that their most productive years are between 65 and 95. So if you're, if you're under those ages, you still got something to look forward to. If you're inside of those ages, you're in your prime.
Mm-hmm.
And so fully functional, you got to speak it into existence and then start acting out activities that can help you develop it. Because if you don't have a vision, you won't do these things. If you don't know, if you don't tune in to KHEA Radio and Kickstart with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, you're not going to know. That's why I'm on the show, to teach you, to educate you, to give you new information. So if I can give you new information, I believe it was Archimedes said, if you give me a fulcrum and a lever long enough, I can move the world. And so if I can give you better information, a better lever, and I can download that better information into your head, then you get to make the choice to take better action. So if you're not happy with where your result is in your life, your kid's life, anything like this, and you're not liking the results that you're getting, change it. But make intentional change, because perfect practice makes perfect, not just practice.
Mm-hmm.
You can practice inappropriately, incorrectly, and actually create worse habits, worse activities for yourself, worse results. So we've got to make sure that the better information allows us to take better action so that we can get a better result.
That's the goal. We're talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition. It's 9:43 right now. This is Kickstart, and I'm excited to have Dr. Chapa in pretty much every Tuesday where we talk about all kinds of topics. I saw that there's another one that's going to be coming up for like sleep. You know, if people, I guess, are struggling with sleep, or maybe they can't go to sleep, or they're sleepy all the time, then that's going to be a topic that we're going to be touching on in the future as well. If there's a topic that you want us to touch on, maybe you have a suggestion, let us know. Reach out to Living Well Clinical Nutrition. You can send them a message or send me a message or leave a comment and let us know what you want to hear about. You know, today we've been talking about ADD and ADHD. So for an adult, Dr. Chapa, like an adult that, you know, maybe struggled with that as a child, can you grow out of it? Or is that something that people generally without change, I mean, is that something that they have for forever?
I would say that anything you can develop, and this is important for all you to grab hold of. If you can develop it, you can undevelop it. And if you've got it and you start doing all the wrong things, you can undevelop it. But and so it's obviously better to start early, right? I mean, if you build these neural pathways while you've got a lot of neurological inputs coming in, and your mind is a sponge, learning, and then you don't have the stresses of life, finances, and trying to make decisions, and how to raise a family, and how to make a living, and how to be a better steward, and all these other things, and you don't have these pressures of life, crowding your abilities, then all of a sudden, as a youth, you have an opportunity to think different and to absorb different, and it sets you up for a better, future. But does that mean that if you didn't do those things that you're doomed? No. It just means that you're just going to have to start again, going back to what we just said, better information. We got to give you better insights and give you better tools to lever a better result. And so, but it starts with food. 80% of the chemistry is what we put in our mouth, and our health is what we put in our mouth. And one of the things that I know for sure is that if you are putting in the 4 deadly food additives, if the label that you pick up has FD&C color number this, or blue this, yellow this, red dye is this, blue this dye, all these things are chemicals. And why are those dyes in there? To make the food look good, right? And because if it doesn't look good,
people aren't gonna eat it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because we are visual creatures. We've got to see it. We've got to that looks appetizing. Just like when you showed me that burger, and it's like, it looked like it was
looks great,
medium rare, medium to medium rare kind of burger. It looked beautiful.
I'm pulling it back up.
And so one of the things that we know is food dyes can cause all kinds of problems, and from hyperactivity to cancers to chromosomal damages, and stress out your liver and kidneys. And when you put enough of these bioburdens into the body, we lose traction. If you've seen these guys that juggle, if you're good at juggling 3 balls and I jump you to 6, what's your likelihood that you're going to be able to do it effectively? Not so much.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a plate spinner and you're spinning 10 plates effectively, and I make you spin 18, you might not be as effective. And so it's because spinning those plates, you got to keep all the balls in the air, or all the plates spinning, and there's just a lot going on. So if your body has a lot of bioburdens, your body has burdens, and that's metals, that's chemicals like these food dye conversation, or the food deadly 4 food additives. If you have infections that have not been handled appropriately because you're more, of the idea that, I can just take a quick fix antibiotic. And unfortunately, antibiotic means anti-life. It destroys everything. I hear a lot of docs now saying, just take a probiotic with it, it's fine. No, that's not bad information. Now if you did buy a good product, you're wasting the good product because you put an atomic bomb in with a life product, with a product that's going to overpower it to kill it. You're going to kill your gut bacteria and whatever nutrient that you're taking in. And so if you're prone to like doing this, and putting these antibiotics in the digestive tract, no judgment, but it's just better education. Let's give you better information. We got to get you to understand that only 60 to 70% of that antibiotic is actually going to take effect on that bug. You've got to still take it up to that 90, 95, 100% healing state, and that comes through your body's own devices, and that comes through your body's own resources of good nutrition and tools like technology like Congoplex, which I brought on the show before, or Thymex that I brought on the show before. If you've got staph type stuff, strep type stuff, congestion in your head, these immunological builders support and help people's body deal with those types of situations. And so no matter what little Johnny's bringing home from school, you got a tool if you use these tools. If your family is struggling, I had this one great story where this lady goes, the school told her she needs to put her kids on ADD meds, which basically we didn't even talk about it. But I mean, these ADD medications are basically they're legal cocaine, they're legal speed, they are legal, overstimulatory factors of the brain, and they burn out neurons, and it causes accelerated aging. They're not healthy for you, but yet just because it's got a prescription and a medical license that gave you permission to have it, all of a sudden cocaine's now good for you, right? Well, if you walked in and saw your kids snorting up a line, would you be happy about that? No. But yet we do this in these medications, and it's because we just don't know that there's a better way, and I find that a lot of people don't in the medical world don't really believe that patients will change. Well, I'm a believer that you want to change, that if you've got some kind of symptom pattern, you want it better, and if I gave you better information, you would make a difference in the way you were living if we could. And this is the beautiful thing about what we offer is we give people better information so they can take better actions, so they can get better results. And we look at these chemicals and that we're putting in our bodies, and now we start saying, okay, well, now we've got to help, your kid not be dependent on that. So because there is an addictive factor, and because it's not, what we offer in the form of food isn't super power unrealistic driving of synaptic activity in your brain. It's what God designed it to do. All of a sudden you don't feel like you're getting the same benefit that you got from the drug. Well, that doesn't mean that what we're doing won't outperform it, but you've got to do these exercises and not be dependent on the drug, because dependence on one drug leads to dependence on another. And we start these habits, and people go, well, you're putting people on a bunch of pills. Yeah, but like I said earlier, I'm vetted out these companies. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt they're going to not be dangerous to your young people's minds, or your mind, or your mother's mind, or your grandmother's mind. And so I want you to recognize there's a difference between a pill for an ill and supplementing what our diet can't give us. What we eat is important, but what we don't eat is more important. Recognizing that the nutritional content in our food supply is lower than it's ever been. The density's not there. We're looking to Frankenfoods. It's basically what I kind of call that meat burger. Frankenfoods is, make-believe food leads to make-believe health. I mean, I'm not saying that it is that, but I'm just saying most of the time, good marketing leads us to believe that it's healthy, but it's only for the dollar, not for your health.
Somebody had asked a couple things like, is this CHOPA approved? And I said, hey, he said he needs to dig deeper. It could be, it looks good on the surface, but, like with anything, you need to do your own research. And then, Dr. CHOPA, you need to do yours as well. And then it was Amber.
Always.
Amber, she also had asked, hey, so is coffee Dr. CHOPA approved now?
No. and I like your thinking, Amber. I see where you're going with that. But here's what I know, right? I mean, what if, because, for me, and a lot of people, when they get over into too much caffeine, they start getting palpitations. They get sweaty armpits. They get, almost restless. Their mind is racing too much. But what if you could leverage the bean, right?
Right.
What if it's true? What if the research? Because it's good research. I trust the source, and I validated the source, not with just other doctor friends of mine, because these guys are all like me. They're real kind of anti-coffee. But what if you leveraged the herb of the bean like you leverage the herbs that we use in the office, like St. John's wort for infection or for depression. It supports those faculties. What if we leverage ashwagandha for the adrenal glands and in the coffee bean for an increased DNA lengthening of a telomere in your brain? What if that's a possibility? No, it's not that I want you drinking gallons of coffee. See, if I give you permission to have a cup of coffee, you're going to have 3. So I'm talking a teaspoon twice a day.
That's tough.
And you're saying, and you're like, dude, that's like taking all the fun out of it. But what if you're one of these people that every time you get into coffee, you start having headaches or migraines or allergies, and a lot of times people are buying cheap already pre-ground coffees, and they don't realize it, but those things are so loaded with mold. They've already gone rancid. They're degenerate products, and they're not good for your body. But what if you freshly ground your own, or you did these cold brew type things that don't heat treat it, and you just had a little bit, and you used it therapeutically, not because you're trying to I hate water and I need coffee. And so I know y'all gonna drink it anyway. I ain't crazy. Are you nuts?
They have to do their talkie, so they need the coffee, right?
That's right. My wife's got the T-shirt, man. She's got the coffee cup. She's got a coffee cup wall or something of all the little cutesy coffee cups that she's collected over the years. And so one of the things that I know for certain is I'm not here to tell you that you can't enjoy it. But now let me ask you a different question. Are you loading your coffee up with dairy, which is obviously, we've talked about it multiple times, that it's not necessarily good for you in any way, shape, and form, and or sugar?
Yeah.
Or are you truly looking for, some people go, oh yeah, I like a little bit of coffee with my sugar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
you got sugar, milk, and then just for color, they throw in a little bit of
right. They might have put a tablespoon or teaspoon of coffee in there, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to tell you that you can't have it. I'm trying to give you new ideas on how to make it therapeutically valuable so that you're not overstimulating your adrenal glands or overstimulating your cell structure and burning out neurons in your brain and causing things like headaches or migraines or restlessness, but yet giving you still some layer of therapeutic benefit that research does support.
Yeah.
I can't turn a blind eye to what is there.
You know, so this is the beginning of the 3rd week for me for not having an energy drink in the morning or coffee. And before that, I was actually doing both. I'd have an energy drink and then I would drink coffee.
And you needed them, didn't you?
Yeah, I need it. I still could. You know what? I'm thinking about it right now. I could definitely go for one right now. But I feel okay. I feel good. And I could feel better maybe if I had one. But I don't know. But I've had them like at other times in the day, but not in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's not every day.
Right. And it's I think what you're putting yourself through is you're showing yourself that you can do all things through Christ, right? You shouldn't need anything but Jesus, right?
My herbal throat spray.
And your herbal throat spray, yeah. And your minerals and your fish oil, right?
And all these other stuff.
There might be a few other things we need, right? But really, we have to eat every day. If we didn't, we wouldn't, and we wouldn't have the society that's built around food. We wouldn't have family functions built around food. Fuel is a natural part of what we do. But recognizing and assessing where your body is. And at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we're in League City, Texas. And you can give us a call, 281-554-8600. We'll give you some more information, or you can visit our website at justlivewell.com. And you can take some of our health surveys, because assessing your health allows you to know where you're at. We've got energy surveys. We got allergy surveys. We got sleep surveys. And we want you to know that the symptom check engine lights that your body is throwing off are giving you insight to where you are in the aging process. If you're 77, wouldn't you rather feel like 37?
Yeah.
Well, I met that guy, Russell Jaffe, and he is an amazing, human being, full of energy, full of life. He goes, I'm going to be dancing at 120, and I want you there with me. And so these are some of the mentors that have gone before us, and I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, sharing these messages and helping people recognize and see that it is more than relying on easy. We've got to stop wanting life to be easy and start falling in love with the process. And when you fall in love with the process, success is assured. So says Dr. Birnbach, and thank you for that, sir. And great friend, great mentor, great coach, great great influence in my life. And I find always that we've got to surround ourselves with people that are better than we are. We got to surround ourselves with people that are going to push us out of our comfort zone. We got to soar with the eagles. You got to get acclimated to not having a lot of oxygen in the air, right? And that hormetic state where your body is now being challenged to level up. To push yourself in your exercise regimen, to push yourself to be awakened to the idea that your brain needs to be warmed up just like your body needs to be warmed up. And so what you eat's important, but what you don't eat's more important. And we want you to know that if you've got symptoms, you've got challenges, you've got health conditions, diagnoses in your body, we've got answers. We've got tools for you to help you in your quest to live better, be better, and stay better. And we've got great events going on all the time as well at our office. We've got a mommy meetup September 16th from 9 to 11 in the morning. And that's something that Dr. Amber puts on. She loves working with moms and prenatal and postnatal moms. We've got on September 21st, that Moonlight Yoga. Dr. Amber's going to be teaching a pelvic reconditioning class.
I probably need to go to that too.
We probably all do, because nobody's got good core anymore. But moms especially that have gone through the pregnancy phase of life, their body's forever changed. Mm-hmm. And so they need to care for their body differently. So, no matter where you're at postpartum, come to this class and be a part of what Living Well is doing. We have education programs every month. We have an immunological talk this month on September 24th at 6:30. And these are designed to give you guys more information to help you make better decisions so that you can have better results in your life.
Dr. Chapa, next week, speaking of the pelvic conditioning and all that. So when it got adjusted, is there any way that you could bring like a mobile table, or I can have like a table set up and you just like adjust me? Because my hips, my pelvic, like everything's out of order. I feel like I'm Captain Hook walking around over here. I want to do it. I'm willing to do it and have everybody hear me scream, on Facebook if they're willing to watch that, or maybe it'll be our worst viewed show of all time. So
I sure hope not. I would. I love educating people about the power of chiropractic. I mean, leveling up the nervous system. I mean, an adjustment can do amazing things in the body. And I recommend people get an adjustment at least every 4 to 6 weeks. I get adjustment every 2 weeks. And sometimes when I'm lucky, every week. And the nervous system wants to be stimulated. And we can use therapies. We can use techniques to activate. I use cold laser therapy, where I can activate mitochondria deep inside the cell structure of my body. I can, elevate my tissues to function better. Chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, nutrition. I mean, we use all things that are non-drug approaches because we sought out to find the underlying cause of all disease and make sure that drugs and surgery are not in that conversation. And so we always want to encourage people, give us a call. Living Well loves to be of service to all things and all people dealing with health conditions and, sometimes just life. We want to be a positive influence, just like KHEA Radio is a positive influence to everybody that tunes in. So we're so glad that y'all tune in. We want to encourage you guys to share this show and give people, a chance to revisit what it is that we're sharing, because you never know. People want information. They don't know that good information exists. If you find value in this, we ask you to share it, like us, and tune in every week, because we want to know what it is that you want to talk about, and we know beyond a shadow that we can help you.
Thank you, Dr. Chapa.
Yeah.
Hey, coming up next, we have Colton Trout. He's been in studio one time before. This is going to be his triumphant return, where we're going to be learning about everything that he is doing. So he is a busy guy, very talented, and we're going to be touching on it. We're going to take a quick break on the FM. We're going to keep it going behind the scenes here on our Facebook page, and we're also going to keep it going on Channel 46. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM.
All right, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Chapa.
We'll knock it down again next time.
Let's do it. It's a plan.
How's the throat, by the way?
It's getting there. I think it's getting there.
So where are we at this week, percentage-wise?
I would say it's about the same.
Okay, we got hung a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you do as good a job the first as the second week taking all your stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, except for Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's not gonna.
I've been doing it every day but Saturday, because it's right there, and then on Sunday I'm here anyway, so I just come in here and pop it.
Good. Are you doing it once a day or twice a day?
Once a day. the supplements.
Yeah. So let's see if we can get a little bit more of the mineral and the fat in this week and push it.
So take it 2 times?
Yeah, because you shouldn't have gotten stuck. Yeah, it might just need another little dose.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Anyway, buddy, have a great afternoon.
See ya. See ya. Facebook, what's up? Let me know what you guys are up to today. Dr. Chapa was sharing a bunch of very useful, helpful information. I see that some people were asking some questions that we weren't able to get to, but I did tag Living Well Clinical Nutrition, which is Dr. Chapa's office. If you want to, you can call his office as well, and maybe they will be able to answer some of your questions. They're very helpful. And or they'll answer on social media. What's up?
How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Good, dude.
Good to see you. I'm going to make sure I got your camera.
All set
If
up.
you're a little taller than Dr. Chapa. Or a different posture.
Just a little bit taller.
Let's see. We'll find out.
I'm liking your earbuds, dude. They're
Thank
really
you.
Sparkly.
Yeah. So these are, does that look good? Yeah. So these are ones that I use for music,
Okay.
being a musician. So I've had them for some years. And then it hit me one day and I was like, well, I don't know. Like, just try it because they're good, you know?
Yeah.
And then I see people on TV, like the sports guys, and they always have their little earbuds. And I was like, oh, I have custom molds. I might as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Custom molds are always definitely helpful. I had some headphones that were kind of similar to that, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they were definitely not custom.
Yeah, like Shure makes some, and we have some that we've used mobile for like 1 year, where it just goes around and
Yeah.
it just pops in there,
Yeah.
and it just looks better. And then I was like, I don't have to mess up my hair,
Yeah.
like everything. That's the main thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's always great.
So what's up? How you been doing?
Good. Doing really good. So staying absolutely busy. I mean, like you just kind of said a couple of minutes ago, it's like I am a busy guy, which has been a ton of fun, though. So we've been doing some restructuring as far as my coaching programs go, which has been an absolute blast.
I remember you were talking about taking it to a different level on a larger scale. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So beforehand, I had like 2 separate programs that I was taking people through, and people were seeing some amazing results, but I wanted to kind of niche down a little bit more, narrow down a little bit more, so that way I could scale up even more. And so that's pretty much what I just did, is instead of having 2 separate programs, I now have 1 program, but like 3 separate levels.
Okay.
So, which allows me to help my clients on like a 10 times like faster basis, as far as, because our goal is to help them double their business, right? Actually double their business in like 90 to 180 days, which takes a lot of work and a lot of focus. So this new program actually allows me to do that like 10 times better.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So we got here. Let's go on the FM right now before this one starts. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio.com 99.5 FM. It's 10:06 on a Tuesday that feels like a Monday, which makes me excited. We got Colton Trout here in studio. What's up, Colton?
What's up? How's it going?
Pretty good. You know, you were in once before, and was that, how many months ago was that? Was it like maybe like 3 months ago or so?
Yeah, probably about there.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, it does.
It's weird. So you've been busy. You've been restructuring and doing some things. Can you share the name of, the business that you have and what the idea behind it is?
Yeah, so the business that I have is called the Today's Today Crew. Essentially, its goal is to coach solo entrepreneurs and teams on how to create the required changes within their business, their organization, their teams, in order to scale up and to grow on a faster timetable. So it takes the theme of today's today, meaning that yesterday is gone, tomorrow is in the future. So what can we do today to actually go reach our success? So
yeah, and I like it. You know, that is important to focus on now, and we get caught up in the past. Sometimes it's either past relationships or choices that you made that like that could have changed your life forever. But hey, that stuff is gone.
Yeah,
and so you only have today, and then you have tomorrow too. But you can make those choices today to set up your future.
Yeah, well, so it's actually really kind of funny, and this was something that I was thinking about probably a month or 2 ago. If we think about it, today actually never ends. Like tomorrow, it's always tomorrow.
It's today.
We literally never, ever reach tomorrow. So it's like, okay, so that means I literally only ever have today to actually go reach my goals and reach my success. But so many people are planning for their success to happen where?
Tomorrow 40
right?
years from now,
Exactly.
when I retire or whatever I'm going to do,
Exactly. So it's one of those things. It's like, wait, okay, so that means I literally only have today to go reach my success. Like, what am I doing today to actually go reach that?
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's really deep, kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You get one of those mind explosion type moments right there.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
good.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. Like I was talking with a client about it, and I kind of shared it with her, and she was like, "Oh wow." And then it's like her entire business just exploded just based off of that one little kind of mindset shift, because it was like, okay, wow, I really do only have today to go reach it. So like, what am I doing today? Like, am I taking a little bit of action to go reach my success, or am I taking a lot of action, and am I taking focused action, or am I just trying to stay busy? So, yeah.
So what kind of entrepreneurs do you work with? Like, what lines of work are they in? All over the place?
So I have, so a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with are kind of all over the place. I've worked with people in the fitness industry. I've worked with people in the influence industry through social media. I've worked with online business coaches. I've worked with people who have physical locations, product-based and service-based. But it's typically solo entrepreneurs or people that have teams anywhere between 5 to 10 people.
Okay. Do you need a team of 5 to 10 people? I mean, or can like a team of one, kind of make it happen for a business?
So it depends on the business, and it depends on the scale of the business. If you haven't reached 6 figures yet, you can get away with you doing it all, and then you can get away with like a personal assistant, right? And it's just the two of y'all kind of battling away. Once you kind of go over that 6-figure mark, if you want to continue going over that 6-figure mark and not just hit like 200,000, 300,000, you want to go upwards, it's going to require a team. It may not be 5 to 10 people, right? Like, I know coaches and entrepreneurs that have a team of 3 or 4 people, right? They have their personal assistant, and they have a couple other people that help them on the production side of what it is that they do.
What they need done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then from there, they're able to scale up to like 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. But if you're trying to go upwards of like 1 million, yeah, you're going to need a team eventually, because you cannot do that all on your own. There's way too much scheduling going on. There's way too much behind the scenes work going on. Especially if you're a business coach, like there's speaking engagements that you're going to and you have to coordinate with, and you don't want to have to sit there and coordinate like your hotel and your car rides and all this other kind of stuff. It's little things that you can delegate that allow you to scale up even faster.
Yeah.
So.
What about like a virtual assistant? I'm sure you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Are those useful?
Oh yeah. Especially in today's world, because a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with do work online through social media. So they do not have like a physical location kind of office. So a virtual assistant to them is extremely crucial, because they don't actually have a place for an assistant to come to. So, and you can also find a virtual assistant that may be a little bit cheaper than having an actual assistant physically there with you through social media.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So if somebody's an entrepreneur, they have a business, maybe it's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
What are some things that they're probably missing out on that they should be focusing on, to go to that next level, or at least continue being successful?
One of the biggest things is going to be delegation. If you're not delegating, you're not growing. Just because you can do everything on your own, you shouldn't have to do everything on your own. And if you want to speed up that success process, you're going to have to delegate, and you need to start delegating early, probably before you even think that you need to start delegating.
I think a lot of people might have an issue, and I've seen this in myself, or even, past jobs where it's hard to give that power away, because you want to have that, it's my name on it, or this is my business, and can I trust somebody who's going to have that same passion I do?
Yeah. Well, so that goes down to, so like when I'm coaching people to kind of like take that step to actually go delegating something, I work with them on how to actually go pick somebody out to actually go do it.
Find the person.
To find the person, right? Because if you don't find somebody that's in line with your vision, your purpose, and the character that you're portraying through your organization or team, like, then no, they're not going to go do everything that you want them to go do to the best of their ability or to the way that you want it done. But that also falls back on the leader, on they may not have communicated the expectations properly for them to go do it. Because if you've communicated those expectations very clearly and properly, and even gone so far as to like write a checklist of how exactly to do things, then I mean, there's no kind of reason why like they wouldn't do exactly what you want them to do. I mean, you've literally told them black and white, this is exactly what I want you to do. If they don't do it, then obviously you need to fire them, and you need to go. Yeah. You need to go find somebody different.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Yeah. Should you look for that person, that perfect person, if you're delegating something? Should they be too much like you, or just like a little bit different, or totally opposite, so that way they're not necessarily like a yes man, or you're like, hey, that's a bad idea, maybe you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
So when you're probably looking for somebody to delegate things, you're probably not looking for them to kind of come to you and start telling you like how to run your business. You're looking more for them just to complete certain tasks that are
Checklist.
minute. Yeah, like a checklist kind of thing. Like sending out emails, responding to emails, filling up your calendar, scheduling calls. Like I'm going and I'm being interviewed on a closed Facebook group later this week, and the guy has a personal assistant, and I haven't talked to the guy that runs the group. I've talked to the personal assistant as far as scheduling, as far as photos, as far as bios, and like what I'm talking about and everything that they need. So it's like those minute kind of things. Like she's
Gotcha.
not telling him like how to run his business. Like she's just doing like what needs to be done.
And then if you have someone in that role that is trying to tell you how to run your business, then maybe it's not the right fit for them.
Well, unless that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just depends on like what you want, because you can find personal assistants that you're like, I want you to be completely open. If you're seeing something that I'm doing that may not work, like you have full reign to tell me, hey, that's not going to work. You need to do something different. But that goes back down to the expectations and what it is exactly that you want out of that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's like one of those, like a Disney movie where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the assistant, and then they have the idea, and then they work their way up, and they're like the number 2
yep.
vice president of the company.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Learn to delegate.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur. You're in a line of work, and you can learn to delegate, I guess, and find somebody that'll be able to help you out, because you can't do it all by yourself.
No, you definitely can't.
Yeah. Well, do you have like 2 other maybe tips?
Yeah. One of them definitely is going to be getting a coach. Go find a business coach. And I'm not saying like come find me. Like if I'm the one that's going to fit your business, obviously like come to me. But you need to find a business coach or somebody that is ahead of where you're at to help coach you to get to there on a faster timetable. It's like taking decades and turning them into days. But you're only able to do that if you have a coach. So a coach, and that's one of the most powerful things that coaches do, is they take decades and they turn them into days. And a lot of people miss out on that either because of finances. They're like, oh, they're too expensive. I can't afford that. Which is why I actually have 3 levels to my program, so I can meet anybody as far as the income that they're bringing in and scale them up and work with them. Because a lot of coaches are on the more expensive side, but they're able to take those decades. I'm able to take those decades and turn them into days. Because I've been on the entrepreneurial journey for 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not everybody's been able to do that. Not everybody has like my expertise and my knowledge. So when I go into a business, I'm able to automatically look at something and be like, okay, this is what we need to go do. Versus if you're sitting in your business, you may not be able to recognize that. So bringing somebody from the outside to look into your business, allows your business to grow and to flourish on a quicker timetable, just because they're aware of things that you're probably not aware of.
Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah.
Just finding somebody who's done it, somebody who's been able to I guess be successful.
Yeah.
And then kind of pass that info along as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman who came in, and he owns, a food truck that turned into a brick and mortar. It's called Nacho Nachos, and there's a guy that he kind of looked up to as a coach. His name is Mike Watts, and so I've been following Mike. He's an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
He actually went on Shark Tank, got a deal with Damon John.
Nice.
And Damon's in Houston.
Yeah.
Mike's hanging out with him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to have that, a connection to somebody who's, been able to do it. I was telling one of my friends, I was like, I would love to bring Mike on, just to be able to, the influence that he has, the conversations he's had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information you can't, that I'm sure he knows. It's really cool to think about.
Yeah, it is really cool. So, that's one of the things like I do for my podcast is I bring those types of people on to the podcast. Like, are you aware of ClickFunnels?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I brought on one of their head people that works in their nonprofit and their marketing department onto the podcast.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
It's like one of those cool things, like through social media and like through having those kind of connections and coaches, like you're able to kind of like meet those people, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, and to be a company like that, the amount of research that they probably put into social media and the team they have, there's like so many, what I'll just call like a nugget. I don't really like that word, but people have told me that like that's a nugget. I'm like, I guess it is, like
dropping some nuggets.
And you get one and you get enough, and then you end up with a bunch of golden nuggets, and it's good,
Yep.
So okay, so that's virtual, whether that's a virtual assistant, get someone to help delegate, and then what was the second one again?
So coaching. Get a coach. It doesn't even matter what income level you're at right now. If you want to grow on a faster timetable, you have to have a coach.
And can you kind of go through like what is a coach going to be able to offer?
Yeah. So it's going to kind of depend on the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak from my personal experience, from the coaches that I've had and that I have, and then from my own coaching program. The number one thing that they're bringing to the table is the awareness of what your business should look like 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the times when entrepreneurs are in their business, right, they're looking at their business from the day-to-day operations. They sometimes lose sight of the grand big picture of where their business is going. So having a coach can come in and say, okay, we want to be here, and this is where your business can be and should be here, which may open up the individual's eyes to saying, whoa, it can actually do a lot more than I thought it could do. And then they know the process to actually get you there. So it takes a lot of the guessing game kind of out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like when I'm working, especially like with business coaches, or smaller teams and scaling up to 6 figures, is one of the things I'm able to come in and be like, okay, we do this, 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 and this, and then boom, you're hitting 6 figures in the next 90 days or the next 180 days, depending on how much one-on-one time that I get with them. Versus them sitting around for 90 to 180 days, like, I want to hit 6 figures, but I don't know how to do it. How do I do this? Oh, let me try this. Let me try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try this one now. And then you're just hopping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And then your business isn't getting any directional, clear, intentional focus to actually go hitting 6 figures.
Yeah.
Because you're trying all these different things. Because there's like a cajillion coaches out there. They're saying, oh, try this, do this, do this. But if you follow a system, you will reach the goal that you have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just pick a system, pick a process, but go follow that process.
And stay with it. Yeah.
Exactly. And coaches are able to help provide the accountability to go do that, the foresight to go do that, the vision to go do it, and then they provide the process and the system for you to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me specifically, like my coaching program, I have a series of system and processes that work and are translatable into almost any kind of business. But I don't want you just to follow a system and process. I want you to translate that system and process into your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of coaches bring their own system and processes, and then they say, oh, just follow this exactly. And then you go reach your success in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you think even a bad business idea, if someone has the right work ethic and, maybe the right advice, that it can be successful?
It's ridiculous how much that happens. There are so many businesses out there that I've seen that I'm like, how on earth did that?
I think like
become
Snuggie.
successful?
Like it's kind of like, just like stuff like that kind of just like caught on, and it's kind of funny, but yeah.
A lot of them though, they have that awe factor. It's just kind of like, whoa, like what on earth is, like it's so outrageous that everybody just falls in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, there are definitely some businesses that are out there that do that. But then again, you look at Snuggies though, like are they still around?
Not that I can
really,
see. Yeah.
right? Because it's
You
not
hit it
typically
big.
sustainable.
And then it's just like cash out, sell it, and then you're good to go.
Exactly. Like have it go viral, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
So yeah, so you definitely have to, but that too goes down to the health of your business and like the health of your products. So like that product was phenomenal, but they didn't maintain more products that had the same healthy level as the Snuggie did, which is why their business stopped. Like you don't hear about them anymore.
Does any business that is successful, is part of it luck? Or I mean, what maybe I would consider luck, but they're really like working, to get lucky?
No. There are obviously some businesses that like it was just right time and right place and it just happened. But even still with those kinds of instances, like there were so many hours put in beforehand to actually get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe in luck when it comes to business being successful. I believe in the work ethic and the consistency that you're taking to make it successful.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody is like putting an hour in a week for their business, it's going to take a ridiculously long time for them to go reach the success that they may want. Now, if they're only looking to make like an extra $100 a month, then sure, yeah, you can go put in an hour, 2 hours. You want to make 6 figures, you want to make more than 6 figures, it's going to take a lot more than an hour, and it's not going to happen by luck, right? I like to say is like, if it's imagining a bird is flying overhead with $1 million and it just happens to land on your lap. Does that happen?
No,
it
not
does.
yet.
It does not happen. That would be awesome if that happened.
Today's the
but that
day.
doesn't-
We'll see.
Right, today's the day. Like, who knows?
Let's
It
go.
may happen. Exactly. So, but it's like one of those things. Like, you can go work though to go make the $1 million faster than that happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's from that consistent work that you're putting in to go do that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we got delegate, learn to delegate. You know, definitely need to get a business coach so that way you can, you know, speed up the process. Unless you want to, you know, drag it out and enjoy the grind,
That's
the pain and grind maybe.
Yeah.
And what's the third tip?
Third tip. And there's so many. And that's one of those things like too is like giving tips and advice like to entrepreneurs and to business owners. It's always really difficult because there's not one tip that can make a radical change within your organization or your team or your mindset that will radically bring your goals and dreams into your reality on a faster timetable.
Mm-hmm.
There are tips that can compound to go do that. But if you just get like one tip, like that's not going in of itself isn't going to magically make everything happen. And so it's like it's always difficult to like think of those tips because I want to make sure that and this is one of the kind of the characters that I portray within my business and what I'm always trying to portray to my clients is creating that radical change, not necessarily on like a radical like big scent like change as far as like your business goes, like you're in baking and now you're going to go do cooking or something like that, but creating a radical movement forward. And that doesn't typically happen from just like one piece of advice.
Sure.
But if you were to do something consistently, like taking a piece of advice and applying it consistently, then obviously that can happen. And so the biggest thing that I can say for that is going back to kind of the first thing that I always teach all of my clients, which is vision casting, which is basically the process of casting your vision for your organization, for your life on a grand scale, and then working it back down to your daily activity.
How do you get there?
And then meditating on it.
Huh.
Yeah. So like when I work with people, especially when I'm working with them one-on-one, like we actually spend a week to 2 weeks on this first step. Like it's one of the most crucial steps. And then what I do is I have them write statements for that vision casting. And then that's what they write down on a daily basis. Because a lot of people, they hear the comment, write your goals down on a daily basis. It's great. Especially if you can consistently do it. But it's one of those things that's kind of like one of those half-truths. It's if you're writing your goals down on a daily basis, half of the time, a month, 2 months, 3 months in, it loses the excitement, it loses the energy that you're putting into writing down those goals.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing the vision casting, it's a different process to where it's statements that you have that evoke an emotion that reminds you of the vision that you've set. And then you're spending a couple of minutes meditating on that statement as if it has already entered into your reality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of compiling a couple of things from your subconscious to your conscious and then to your own like physical body, like believing what it is that you're saying.
You know, it can be scary saying goals out loud. You know, writing it down sometimes is a start in the right direction. Yeah. But just so like and you know Chef Mary Bass, because we've had conversations like, oh, I know Colton, you know, we talked about the cakes.
I actually brought her
business.
onto my podcast.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's opening a business, La Cocina by Chef Mary Bass in Galveston, and she was like, I want to be, you know, $1 million catering company in 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and for her, you know, she started businesses before and in different levels, and she's still, you know, in business catering, but now she's going to have a spot. And for her, I'm just like, man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's not. And you can, you know, work it backwards.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to have goals, right? Or is
No, well, and it's really crucial. And so I love that she has stated that she wants to have $1 million business in 5 years. That's phenomenal. I think that's still too small and that doesn't push her. Like, so having $1 million business in 5 years, right? We know that 5 years down the road, we know that that's going to happen. Whether she reaches $1 million or she doesn't reach the $1 million. 5 years is coming and it's kind of seeable and it's kind of tangible. Right. So like when I work with people on their vision casting, I'm going so grand, big picture that it's almost like, how the hell am I going to do this? Like, how the heck am I going to do this? And it just kind of like leaves them in a sense of like, oh, like I need to get to work.
Yeah, like $10 million or something like that.
Yeah,
or 15 million or something.
Well, and it's not even necessarily like the income level. Yes, income level is absolutely huge, and one of my goals is to reach $100,000 a month. But it's one of those things where we want to cast more of a vision for what our life and our business is going to look like, not necessarily putting a limit on the income it can make.
Okay.
Right? So when we do that, like let's say you want to have like a successful public speaking business, or you want to have a successful restaurant, or in her business, a catering business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to look at what does that look like to either do the $1 million in business, or what type of business do you want to have? How many orders do you want to have in? How many events are you catering? What events are you catering? Because it may be more than $1 million in income at the level that you actually want it to be at. So you just limited yourself to hitting $1 million in the next 5 years, when in reality, 3 years, you could be doing twice that amount because you're running the business that you actually want to run. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So too many people limit themselves. Like $1 million, like it sounds ridiculous. $1 million is not hard to make. Like it's not hard to make if you really think about it. And so if you look more at the aspect and cast a vision of like, what do I want my business to look like? Then it allows you to reach probably a higher income than you may have thought that it was possible at that level. But it also allows you to reach it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Because like $1 million, like, yeah, you can think that in 5 years, like that's great to go kind of see and reach. But if you have your outlined business that you want to have, there's more structured steps to reaching that, and you can reach it a little bit faster.
Yeah. One thing you said, and I like this, is you want to, whenever you're doing that vision, what do you want your business to look like?
Yeah.
Because there's probably certain things, and I'm going to use catering, that you can make more money in catering doing this, but hey, I don't want my business to look like that. I would rather do this because this is what I love and my passion. And so it's like, well, I can make more money, but I want to do this, so let's go.
Yeah. But I mean, and that comes down to it as well. Is like money isn't like the be all end all. Like that if you're chasing after money, you will never stop chasing it. You'll never reach it and you'll never be satisfied. But if you have a vision for your business and where you want it to go, like that's more attainable than a certain income. And that'll be more fulfilling than a certain income.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know when I reach my goals, it'll be way more than $100,000 in income, but it's going to be 10 times more fulfilling to reach that than it is to have over $100,000 in income on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Like the money's great, but the impact that it's creating is way more fulfilling than the money. Does that make sense?
So actually being able to help people, that's important to you.
Yeah. Oh, extremely, extremely important. So, yeah.
I met someone the other day, and they were at the gym, and I did a vlog series of like a workout transformation thing. It was fun.
That's awesome.
And the guy was like, "Hey, what's up? What's your name?" I was like, "My name's Gardy," and I met him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "The reason I joined this gym is because I saw the videos, that you did." And he said that's the reason I did it, and thank you, like kind of a thing like that. And it's just it was like a surreal moment. I was like, man, that's awesome, to hear that. And it was like his first week there, and, started on the right path.
Awesome.
But it is cool to be able to help people now, hopefully he sticks with it and it's fun, Yeah. It was nice to meet him, but being able to actually help people is important.
Yeah, it's way more fulfilling than getting a dollar sign.
It is.
Or like having something hit your bank. Like, don't get me wrong, like having income is phenomenal, and you need to have income, especially if you run a business. If you don't have income, there's a huge issue, and you need to fix that issue extremely quickly. But it's not the be all end all. It's like chasing the money rabbit. Like if you're always chasing it, you're never gonna catch it.
So if somebody comes to you and they're you're gonna be their business coach, and they're like, I want the money, are you gonna try and redirect them, or be like, hey, no, that's your goal, let's go make the money?
So the money is definitely a portion of where I coach at. For those that don't know, I used to be a financial advisor, had my investment licenses, insurance licenses, worked that business for a really long time, I say a really long time, it felt like a really long time. Learned a lot about how money works. And so that's absolutely an area that I help coach people in, because your income and your money, a part of your business, is absolutely crucial. So I help them in a sense to understand that, and to go chase after certain monetary goals, because that's a measurable that we can measure as far as the level of business that you're at and if you're reaching your goals or not. But if somebody's just money hungry, I kind of like to do this where I'll probe and I'll kind of ask why, but like I won't just ask it once or twice. Like I'll actually ask it like 12 times.
In different ways, or the exact same way?
No, the exact same way. I will literally sit there and I was like, why? And then they'll go and they'll tell me, I'm like, but why? And then probably about like the 6th time, they're like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm going to keep asking this until we actually find out why it is that you want the money. Yeah. And then it's typically has nothing to do with the money, but it has everything to do with creating an impact. And they think that the money creates the impact, and it doesn't. So it's more of like, okay, see that impact that you're chasing after, it has nothing to do with that money. Like the money's great. And you definitely want to have that income, and that income is absolutely doable. I don't think that's going to be difficult to go reach, but we want to chase after that impact that your heart is yearning for, versus the income that your stomach is yearning for.
Yeah, and I guess the impact could be like stability, or my kids for college, or I just want to be successful or change my outlook. Someone told me I couldn't do it. Those are the reasons I guess that people will be like, I want to be rich, or I want to make money, I want to be successful, but why?
Yeah. So a lot of it kind of comes down to as well is I struggled with XYZ and I don't want other people to struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of comes down to that. And they think it's like, well, if I'm making $1 million, then that means I must be impacting people. No, not necessarily. You can run $1 million business and have no impact and actually be hurting more lives than you're actually helping. So we want to focus on that impact of actually helping people go from like, okay, I suffered through this and I don't want people to go through that as well. So then we work from there.
So you mentioned there's like a 3-tier coaching process. Is that all online? How does that work?
Yeah, so I run my coaching business strictly through online. The majority of it is through Zoom calls, so one-on-one coaching calls, or I have my mastermind, which is also done through Zoom calls, and then through my closed Facebook community, where I have my courses uploaded. I do live Q&As with them. I do other Facebook Lives and coaching sessions. But yeah, the majority of it is online. I have a few clients that I meet with one-on-one because they're here in the local area, but majority of my clients aren't here in the local area. And so it's easier for me to reach them through social media. But it's also easier, too, for business owners, especially nowadays, like because we are all so busy, like I have a structure set up. So on Thursday nights, I do my mastermind call. It's a 2-hour call, and anybody that's a part of that mastermind group can hop on that call, and we do our mastermind call. But it's every single Thursday night, so it's kind of structured. And then on bi-weekly on Wednesday nights, I do my live Q&As for my low level, and I'm basically answering any questions for them. And then for the one-on-one coachings, it's easier to schedule a 1-hour to 2-hour coaching call where you don't have to come to me and I don't have to come to you. So we're not worrying about time as far as driving to certain places. We can just hop on the call and we can go. It allows you to create more impact and more action within your business a little bit more easily and a little bit quicker.
Okay.
So yeah.
So is the one-on-one, is that like at the highest level?
Yeah. So I have
mastermind.
Yeah. So I have my beginner level, I have my intermediate level, and then I have my expert level. So my intermediate is for people that are either like starting out or they have a business that just isn't creating a lot of income, but they want it to create more income. And so that's like my cheapest level, so that way people have easy access to it. But that's where it's like the live Q&As and the Facebook Lives and the courses that they have access to. And then I raffle off like one-on-one coaching for them. And then my mastermind is that intermediate level, where they actually get access to like 4 different mastermind calls and then one-on-one coaching call. And then my expert level is I'm working with them one-on-one and we're doubling their business in 90 days. So,
and that's attainable, 90 days.
Yeah. I've seen it time and time again.
Wow.
So, I meif it's just that clear intentional focus and direction within that 90-day time period, and it's totally doable. So, obviously, if a business is already doing like $1 million, right, doubling that in 90 days is probably going to take a little bit longer than 90 days. But majority of businesses, if they're making between $5,000 to $10,000 in income, doubling that in 90 days, like, give me 60 days and let's go. So, but yeah, going through that 90 days, it allows me to take you through the course and then allows us to create the structure to duplicate the process that we go through in that 90 days and do it again and again and again. Because most of the time when people have a business, right, and let's say they're making $10,000 income, they want to make $20,000 in income on a monthly basis. Once they double it, they don't want to just stop there. Right? Yeah. They want to double it again and again and again. And so I'm focused not only on helping you double your business, but lay that foundation and that structure for you to be able to repeat the process again and again and again until it hits your big grand level.
I think one of the most difficult things for people who are entrepreneurs is, even if it's just you, the one person you said, hey, maybe you haven't hit that 100,000 a year, and you're like, I can't afford to hire somebody. What do I do? But then if you think about it, like if you can realistically double your business in 90 days, then you probably can't afford to hire somebody.
Yeah, and my coaching too, and this is where I get, honestly, a lot of grief in the coaching community because I offer so much value and I do so much for my clients. I've had business coaches in the past that just tell me I'm ridiculous because my prices aren't super high.
Like saying you're doing too much, you need to charge more?
Well, pretty much, yeah. And so it's one of those things like, so my expert level, it's a couple $1,000s for people to get access to that expert level. And I have literally people time and time telling me again, it's like, you need to be charging like $10,000 to $15,000 for that program. And I'm like, no, I won't do that. Because one, I'm not chasing after the money rabbit. I'm chasing after the impact that it's going to create. Now, the price that it is set at, it definitely takes care of me. It takes care of my bills and everything that I have, and it leaves me for extra, and it allows me to grow my business for sure. It's not one of those things like I'm totally underpricing. It's still up there. But yeah, no, I've been told time and time again, people are like, you need to be charging $10,000 to $15,000 for this 3-month program. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, it'll definitely get up there in the next couple of years. But for the time being, I am way more focused on the clients and creating that impact than I am my own pocketbook.
Yeah. And I think what's important for I guess everybody to remember is I guess it's pretty scalable, because if it's all online, then you can get those people to access the tools, the material that you provide, and then whenever they want to ask questions and stuff, they can.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's unbelievably scalable. So
yeah. So on those calls, a 2-hour call, that's a long time. Like, what's the structure of that call?
It varies on where the client's at and what the goals are of the client. A lot of it is going to kind of go based down to like, what are the processes and procedures that we need to put into place into your business? What changes do we need to create? What awareness do we need to create? And then what challenges and adventures do we need to embark on to go do what we set out to do? So, and it just varies from call to call.
Awesome.
So, yeah. But 2 hours is not long. It is actually
it goes by quick.
Oh, unbelievably quick. We get to the 2 hours and we're like, man, we still have a lot to talk about. So yeah.
That's once a week, and then next week.
Yeah.
Can we touch on your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have guests on? What kind of topics? Does it just range on the guest?
Yeah, so it definitely ranges as far as the guest goes, but the whole goal of the podcast is to help entrepreneurs crush their goals more consistently by helping them crush them on a daily basis, right? So going back to the theme of today's the day. So every single time that I have an entrepreneur on, one, it's an entrepreneur that is successful in their field. That's one of my requirements, that you are successful and that you are able to provide some form of value to help people crush their goals on a daily basis. So anytime I bring somebody on, that is like our sole focus. We get to learn about them. We get to learn about their business and what they're doing, some of their goals that they have, some of the struggles that they've gone through and overcome. But the main focus is helping them crush their goals on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Is there any value talking to people who are maybe not successful, like entrepreneurs, just being like, this is what we don't do?
Yeah. Yes and no. There's definitely value in. There are definitely some people that are like just getting started and haven't reached like the level of success that I like to see on my podcast, but that they have an immense amount of value to bring to the podcast. And so I've had a couple of people on, but it's still one of those things that unless they've reached that success, there are still things that they may be a little bit naive to, or that they're focused more on the money or whatever it may be. So if I bring somebody like that on, it's probably going to turn a little bit more into like a coaching call. A little bit more of like a challenging call where like they'll say something, we're like, well, what about this? And it'll kind of like, we'll go back and forth. Not in a way of like, oh, I'm going to call you out on the podcast, but kind of like, let's have some authentic conversation about this topic or whatever we're talking about and really dive into a level deeper than just surface level. Like if there's an elephant in the room, like I'm going to poke the elephant and like, okay, let's go a little bit deeper as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So with your podcast, do you set goals for that too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to set goals for everything that you do, in my personal opinion, and that's encompassed even within the vision casting that I do as well. So,
does that ever get annoying to people in your life? Or like, okay, Colton, like you don't have to, like, it's not a competition. You don't have to set a goal for, who can finish their food the quickest. Not necessarily that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, no, yes and no. It's funny because I actually don't share those goals with a lot of people just because they are super grand and super big. A lot of times people will look at me like, okay, Colton,
really?
Bless your heart. You go do you. And then there's other people that like, they get fired up when I tell them the goals. And so I tend to tell people that get fired up about it, the goals, and people that won't get fired up about it, I tend just to like kind of let be. And then once again, though, I'm not focused on sharing my goals to have everybody be like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Like I'm focused on putting in the action to go accomplish my goals. So then they can see the goals were achieved, not me who achieved the goals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's important to remember not everybody's your friend. And you have your, a close circle where you share certain things with, and then you maybe a little bit bigger circle. And, that's probably a mistake that a ton of entrepreneurs have made, just sharing stuff with the wrong people.
Yep. And it's sometimes family too. Like I know for me, and it's really kind of funny. So my dad's an entrepreneur, and a very successful entrepreneur. But he still has that mindset of go to school, get a good degree, get a good job, get married, have kids, and then retire later on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here, I'm like, nope, let me do something completely different. Let me run businesses and let me work in the financial services and build an organization through that. And then let me start my rum cake business, and then let me start my business coaching. And he's just looking at it. I'm like, he does not understand pretty much anything that I do. And so we're able to have some conversation, but a lot of the conversations that we have, we don't talk business, just because he's still one of those people that when I share something with, he's kind of like, okay, whatever. But it's still one of those naysayers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, times have changed, even with social media making things more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almost
the internet.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now you can coach somebody all over, on the other side of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's actually really funny, too. There's a shift happening right now where more business owners are going for younger business coaches because of the shift of social media. Yeah, of the understanding of how social media works, how the awareness works, how to create things that catch on fire and become viral. Yeah. Yeah.
Right now it's 10:44. Speaking to Colton Trout, today's the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the podcast, the website. How can somebody go find more information about everything that you do?
Yeah, so the best way to do that is honestly to go to Facebook and look up Colton Trout, and then send me a message and get connected with me. You can go follow my page that I've got on there. You can send me a friend request. I do accept them. And then I do check my DMs, and I respond to every single one.
Even that folder? There's the hidden folder that you find once every...
Yep.
At least mine, I'm like, oh, man, this is some weird stuff in here. It's like
I've gotten some weird things over the years. But no, I actually go check that on a really, really regular basis to make sure that if there are people coming through that are reaching out to me that I just haven't seen, that I'm there to respond to them. So, but I also have a community on Facebook that you can get access to. That's a free community that's got one of my courses up on there, and then has some of my other Facebook Lives that I'm doing, which is kind of coaching you on how to go double your business. But then I have my Today's the Day crew. So if you're going to reach out to me on social media, make sure to ask about the Today's the Day crew and how you can get connected.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share while you're here today?
Oh, man. There's always tons of stuff to share. Especially in business coaching, because I'm always learning too. I'm reading 2-3 books a month right now. And so my mind is always going.
Yeah. What kind of books are who are the authors or some of the people? Just throw some names.
So one of the books that I'm reading is called Contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going back through and reading The On Purpose Person by Kevin McCarthy. So both of those are absolutely phenomenal books. And then I've got a list of 13 or 14 books.
Do you set goals for those? I'm going to read so many books a month or a year?
I try and read about 2 to 3 books a month. And now, granted, I do the audiobooks versus the actual physical reading of books, because if I did that, I'd probably spend one book and go over a 3-month, 4-month time period, because I read so slow. So I definitely do the audiobooks, but I definitely work on the personal development side on a very regular basis. So, and then it just depends on what area needs to develop that month or that week on what books I'm reading.
Okay,
so,
cool. Mm-hmm. That's very cool. Yeah, no, I'll do audiobooks too, because it is a lot easier.
Yeah.
As long as my kids aren't in the car, then I'm able to. Otherwise, they're kind of calling the shots. But even at the gym, if you have headphones in, it's a great opportunity to multitask.
Yep.
Or I know I've done it at the house, cooking before my wife was talking to me and I didn't know. And I was like, I'm sorry. Okay, I won't do that anymore. But just finding the time to be, you can be productive, and then you can also, be strategic. You have to be strategic about it, trying to feed yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I turn my car into a classroom, right? I'm trying to learn as much as I can when I'm in the car, or when I'm first waking up, or when I'm at the gym, or going for a walk, or going for a run, or just doing something where I have nothing else to do, but I have to do that thing, like cooking, right?
Yeah.
For you, you've got the family, and so that's a little bit more of a time that you can't do that for. But yeah, So working in that intentional development as often as possible is so crucial.
What part of town do you live on?
League City.
You live in League City? And you
Yeah.
grew up in that area, right?
Yes and no. So I've actually moved like 13 times. So I've lived in like Italy, I've lived in Michigan, Colorado, College Station, Lake Jackson, Clear Lake, Seabrook. So I've moved Memphis. So I've moved quite a little bit.
Okay. How did you end up doing that?
So my dad moved a lot with his company. He used to work with Dow Chemical, and so we moved about every 3 years just for that. The Memphis trip was me going back and helping my old boss relaunch her business up there. The Italy trip was the foreign exchange trip that I did, and then the Seabrook was when I moved out and got my own place.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. So you've been able to travel and do some pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm always traveling. I love to travel.
How'd you like Lake Jackson?
It was fun. We lived right by like the Bayou Center.
Yeah.
And so we were always going over there and buying those like little candy sticks and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So,
How old were you whenever you were over there?
I want to say like 7 to 10, somewhere around that age frame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm horrible when it comes to age. Like, oh, what years were you there? I'm like,
I moved 13 times.
I don't know.
How old am I now?
Yeah.
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 Do the math.
So,
Funny. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So we got about like 8 minutes left or so. We're talking to Colton Trout. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know, and we'll get those asked.
Yeah.
We were talking about at the beginning, some tips that people can do. We talked about delegating as an entrepreneur. We also talked about getting a business coach, somebody who's done it before and can help you. Can we talk about the importance of social media? A lot of businesses, maybe they're not on there, or they haven't grasped it yet. How important is social media, and how can you use it as a tool?
So I want to make this really kind of like bold statement. If you're not on social media, your business will not succeed today, just because of how important it is. 2.1 billion people are on social media almost every single day. Like 2.1 billion people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. People go from YouTube to Instagram so the way things go is it goes YouTube, Facebook, Messenger, and then Instagram as far as like where people are spending their time. If you're not reaching them where they are, your business is doing 10 times less than what it could be doing, and inevitably it's going to fizzle out because you run out of your client base. Like having a social media presence and following allows you to go past what your physical geological region can reach and what your physical store, if you have a physical store, can reach. So only so many people will pass by your certain store. But on social media, you can have thousands of people that live in that same general area but never drive that road can now see your business. And they can now know, hey, I need to go on that road because that business is on that road. I need to go see them. But you're not able to do that unless you're on social media and you're actively marketing and you're actively reaching out to that following.
Yeah. So whenever you do these coaching sessions, and let's say it's social media specific, would you help someone grow their social media following, or just be like, hey, this is how you should be posting or doing these kind of things? Is it specific things or just general?
So it goes down back to the goals. What are their goals for their social media? Is it to amass a massive following, or is it to amass income from their following?
Get the people who are going to spend their dollars.
Exactly. You don't have to have 1 million followers in order to go make a 6 or 7 figure income from your social media. You can make an extremely good income from a smaller following, but where you are having a fast turnover rate, right? So like you're bringing people into your business and they're buy hungry. They're actually buying your products. They're raving fans of your products. And so you can create that with a smaller following. So it just kind of goes back down to the goals. Like, what do they want to do? Do they want to see income from it, or do they want to amass social proof and a social media following and the hundreds of thousands?
Yeah. And social proof is a thing. I was talking to my buddy who's a musician the other day.
Yeah.
And, he was excited. Their social media numbers were growing. And he's like, well, promoters, they look at that, how many Facebook likes or how many people are following them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's all important.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you go over to like getting sponsors. But sponsors even are moving more towards the range of how many people are buying from your following. Like if you have, let's say you have 50,000 followers on Instagram, a sponsor will look at that and say, okay, great, you have 50,000 followers. How many people would actually buy our product from your follower base, though? Is it 1? Is it 2? Or is it 10,000?
Yeah.
So you can have a following that's 10,000 people and have higher paid sponsorships because all 10,000 people are buying versus somebody that has a $50,000 page where only maybe 100 or 200 people will buy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So it's more of the impact versus the influence.
Mhm.
That's kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah,
So,
yeah, it definitely does. You know, one of the things about having a following on Instagram, which we're not streaming on today or right now, but is if you have a certain amount of followers, you can do. There's features like swipe up.
Yep.
You know, you see people do that, and that's a big deal.
10,000 followers.
And I've heard people complain like, and I wish I could do it on our KHEA thing, but we don't have 10,000. We have like almost 1,000. You know, which is slowly. It's getting there.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It's all interesting things to learn and know and realize.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things that it comes down to the consistency of it, but it comes down to like what you're posting.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can make, so working in the world of business coaching and the world of motivation, I can make a motivational post all day long and it may get 10, 20 likes, right? But if I go make an impactful post that creates an awe sense, like the one that I posted yesterday, and it was kind of sharing like where the whole today's a theme kind of came from, what those 3 words like really mean to me. And the opening line of it was why I didn't kill myself. And then it went through the story, and that post in of itself got 100 times more engagement than just a typical motivation post because everybody else is making that motivational post. Everybody else is talking about the kind of that surface level stuff. But the second you go past that surface level, you're creating more of an impact.
Yeah.
So,
as an entrepreneur, and I mean, you as an entrepreneur, is it important for you to open up and show that side?
it depends on the business that you're in. I think if you're looking to create influence, to create a personal, authentic connection with your clients and with your following, yeah, absolutely it is. Because people want to connect with people that they know, both intimately and authentically. And so if you're just maintaining that surface level, it's going to be harder to scale up on the social proof, on the social media following, because nobody really knows who you are.
Yeah.
Now, like if you have like a bakery, like you don't want to go around sitting there and like telling all your like life stories. Now you can for sure once you've started to kind of amass a following and people are familiar with the products and you need more to talk about, absolutely share with your story, because that will create a deeper understanding and a deeper relationship with your products, which will create triggers for people to actually buy your products more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of comes down to like what business do you have, who's your target client, and what your goals are on social media.
Yeah, I found, whenever I share like KHEA stuff from my personal social media, it's hit or miss depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But I actually had a conversation with Mary Bass about this, maybe not quite a year ago, but it was probably earlier this year. And she was just talking about, being strategic and posting things that aren't related to your business, especially if you're trying to connect with somebody. And so like, I'll share stuff that I didn't share before, just like my family, a picture.
Yeah.
Or like even I shared my son eating a taco yesterday, just like little things like that. And so, that will get a better response usually than anything you post.
Yeah.
But and again, that all goes into the analytics of everything. And so it's weird.
Well, it doesn't necessarily go so much into the analytics side of it, but it goes more into the personal relationship side of it. Social media was created to create personal relationships within people on a massive level. When we talk strictly business 24/7 on social media, people get bored of it.
Yeah, they're going to swipe over it maybe.
Yeah, they're just going to be like, okay, whatever. But when we start sharing our personal side to it, our personal story behind it, then people start connecting with it more. So when you do post those business things, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
so,
I got you.
Yeah.
Hey, Colton, you're awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
Again, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Not that I can think of other than, get connected to me through social media, through Facebook, and then ask about the Today's the Day crew. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Right now it is 10:57. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. We got that error, huh? Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, we're here. Did you end that stream? Yeah.